Coach, we'll give the floor to you.
Yeah, I'm just excited because all three guys took care of their business this morning. As I told you, they're three phenomenal students, so that's really important too. But I still think, each one of them brings something different to the table. Pierre with his strength and his long-range shooting and his work ethic, and of course Max and his versatility, play a lot of positions. And Jaden, I think, is one of the better athletes we've had here, kind of in the Keith Appling mold. Even more, I've seen him do some dunks that, I've never seen for a while, Miles Bridges-ish. So I think each one of them brings something different. And Pierre, as I was saying, his dad being a coach is really important to me. I seem to have some success with parents, players of coaches. That's always made a difference. And I also think, Jaden's father's been very involved with him. Max's has been very involved with him. So I told you, we got good students, but we got great families too. They've all been very involved with their players and their sons, I should say. And so having them all on board, they're all part of the family. They all sent me a text. It's been awesome. Questions?
Next question is from Jim Comparoni.
Hey, Tom, thanks for taking time out to do this for us. We really appreciate it. Hey, with Jaden Akins, you see him as like a lead guard, combo guard, point guard. How does he fit in? And what do you see? Where do you see his game?
All the above. I really do. I think he's going to be able to play more than one position. I think as Holmes keeps working on his shooting and keeps improving that. I think he's a guard and he's a player, and we'll figure out on the way. But he's definitely got a lot of point guard qualities. He's just got athleticism and things that are even more than point guard. He's got some size. That's the other thing. At 6'4" guard, a 6'5" guard, a 6'6" kind of swingman, we got guys with size and length, and Jaden has size and length. So I think he's going to be able to play more than one position, which is always good. I like guys that are multi-skilled. As important, I think he's going to be able to guard more than one position. And, I'm just excited to have him here. You got to understand one thing that's really been hard in recruiting right now is, with all these things coming up on, whether transfer rules, whether this, whether that, now this thing where, guys might be able to stay another year, trying to make sure and fit everybody in is more difficult. And that's why I think it's so important guys come where they want to be instead of just going somewhere for maybe playing time at that exact moment. I think these guys want to be here, and I think they'll all be part of a playing group that's going to, hopefully, as Audrey says, lift us even higher. And there's still that elusive championship out there that we're constantly looking for.
You mentioned Jaden's athleticism, and did you always evaluate him as a plus leaper, or is that something that blossomed a little bit later? There's that video of him with that blocked shot in transition that, going above the square that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, he started, after he committed, he started sending me some videos. And I'd go in the office and I'd say, hey, we might have the steal of the draft. I mean, not that athleticism means everything, but no, I did not see all that. I mean, I watched him get 30 one night in a big game, and I saw his quickness, but the athletic ability and the leaping ability and the dunking ability, I did not see that. And so you're right. I watch highlights like you guys, especially when you can't go out and see him in person. But I've been very impressed, and I love when he sends me something here and there, or somebody else does, because I think there's things I haven't seen about him yet. And thank God, usually what you haven't seen are sometimes come in a negative way. What I haven't seen always seems to be coming in a positive way. So I think Jaden's going to grow as the year goes on. We were in on him very early. One advantage, Doug Wojcik's sons played AAU ball with him. So we've had him up here very early on. That was one thing. his family was very, very important. Mother went to Northwestern, so she had some Big Ten in her. And Dad has been an absolute phenomenal guy to talk to. I think the relationship with Doug helped because he had known the family for 4 or 5 years. And once we got him on campus, I think he fell in love with it. But I will say this, it was the last game that was here. We played Ohio State for the Big Ten championship on senior night. And he told me that day riding home, this is where I want to be. And, I really didn't believe him then, but just like their family is, I mean, that was his impression. And so I give my staff, DJ Mike Dane, I give Doug a lot of credit. I give a lot of credit to our fans and our players, because that was a magical night, as we all remember. Unfortunately, the last night, but I think that too had a big impression on Max, and he someday want to be a part of that.
Go to Graham Couch.
Tom, staying with Max a little bit, what he is as a player, I've heard comparisons to somebody like a Steve Smith with his versatility, or when you look at the ceiling for Max Christie, where's a player comparison to you?
Well, I don't, he's a unique player. I'd say that, some Steve Smith is definitely what we look at. I think he's also got some Gary Harris and some Denzel Valentine. He's got a high basketball IQ. He can play a variety of positions. He can really shoot the ball. He works on his game. I mean, these 3 guys spend a lot of time where they're kind of the Gabe Browns of their new era here. They live, eat, and sleep at Foster Lawyers. They're in the gym all the time. They're playing all the time. Max has a younger brother, and Dad has been off a little bit because of the COVID, and man, he's had him out all the time. So I think what I see in him is he'll be Max Christie, but he'll have some similarities to some of those players that you've seen here in Steve, because he's got length and he's got the ability to play different positions, like Gary, because he can really shoot it, and like Zell, because for a bigger guard, he can both shoot it and pass it. And I think he has a high basketball IQ. So, we'll always have to work on his defense. He says that's improving, but we think that he'll work on it hard enough, and he is a good defender. So not in Gary's stage yet, but more like Steve and Zell were at a younger age. I think when we signed him, we really liked him, and he was ranked 100 and something, and we said, wow, what a joke, in our humble opinion. And what's been really good, it's not just his dad. His mom is awesome too. She's taking stats at the game. This is a family affair when it comes to the Brookses. They're all involved with them. I sat at one game and she was sitting in front of me taking the stats, and I think she was questioning her husband's decision and her son's play. It was just awesome. And I think that's what's going to make him a special player. They support him, but they don't pamper him. And I've gone to some 6 o'clock workouts in the morning that his dad has had last winter. And Pierre's in there all the time. And so I think he's got good support at home. I think he's self-motivated. And I think he's already moved up a lot and has played very well. He's the only guy that's really gone out and played here, because every state has their own rules and every team. But he's been able to go down to Arizona, and he played a little bit, and he's played very well. So I think you're going to see him just constantly moving up. And but if he moves nowhere, his strength, his long-range shooting, and his passion are enough for me. If I do my job, I'll make him a hell of a player.
But when you think about, where continuing to where you want your program to go and adding on to the winning culture that you guys have, what else are the key components, about these 3 that you think are going to elevate Michigan State, if that's even, possible to take to win even more, that kind of thing? What's the overall encompassing?
Yeah, that's a good question, because you said it sheepishly. We definitely have to keep elevating, because somebody else is trying to catch us. So we have to keep elevating. And I think one of the things you got to do, you got to have people that want to be here. That's a part of the culture. it started way back with the Cleveses and Bells and Petersons and Smiths and those guys. And then it kind of moved into the Richardson era. And, then it moved into there were so many guys. I just talked to Chris Hill. He's over in France. And I think of that era. And then, of course, Travis Walton and Draymond's era. And then Gary Harris and whatever, And you want to get highly ranked players, but it's really good when you got very good ranked players that are highly ranked people and want to be here. I think this day and age, Audrey, that there's so many kids that are getting pulled so many different ways. I don't think their progress has been stunted in any way. I think they kind of knew where they wanted to go. I'm hoping. I mean, it was part of the recruiting process, which my guys did a great job of. But I think they wanted to be here enough that they were able to make that decision early. And I think that's what's going to help us grow, because each one of them, too, has already been a good recruiter for other players in the future. And that's the one part that I think we got to maintain here. I remember when we had visits when Cleves was here and Jason Richardson was being recruited. Those guys would fight over who'd host them. It was a challenge to see who'd get them, And Travis, I mean, I'll take him. Draymond, I want him. It was a fight. Sometimes now we're in that silo stage of Twitter era, as I call it, where everybody's worried about just themselves. And I think I've been impressed that these guys have already wanted to help recruit for the next couple of years. And that means they probably came to a place that they not only love, but I think their parents want to see them here. Their families want to see them. And that's what I hope they bring to the table.
Thank you.
Getting a couple more kids from the Detroit area and how much of a blessing that city's been for you over the years. Can you comment on what that means, those two guys? I mean, Pierre's commitment video, he was on the steps at St. Cecilia when everything was still closed down. Obviously means a lot to him and his family. Can you talk about Detroit a little bit and staying home for getting two of those guys?
Yeah, Steve Smith was in a couple of weeks ago, and St. Cecilia was a place where the greatest of the greatest played, and that's why Pierre's kind of old school. His dad keeps him pretty grounded in that respect, and getting Jaden from down in that area. I mean, I just think, hey, Detroit's got good basketball. It always has, and now they're, I think things are improving down there, and academically they've been really good. So I'm ecstatic. Anytime I can get kids from closer distance so that their families can see them play, we get to know the families better. We get to know the kids better. I just think it's a plus. That's what I've done in my career. Everybody's done it a little different. Everybody's had success different ways. It's worked for me. I enjoy it. And I really enjoy, getting a text from Jaden's dad today, we're part of the Spartan family, those kind of things are fun because his uncle went here. And so it is kind of a family affair. And, but you're going to like, I think you're going to like those two guys. I think you're going to also really appreciate Max Christie for who and what he is. He's got a little more personality than I thought. That's another thing I've learned on Zoom. Maybe they feel like they're sheltered a little bit where they can act like they act. I called Max a couple times and caught him with his headphones on playing whatever those games are on the internet. What am I thinking of? What's the Army game? You guys
Call
know.
of Duty.
Call of Duty.
There you go. Oh, of all people. How could you come up with that? You're not playing that, are you?
No, but I know it's very popular.
Okay. Well, it is fun to watch those guys.
Tom, also, usually, earlier in the fall, in September, you're out doing evaluation, of course, in the summer also. Looking forward, how are you adjusting to that? Because you're a guy that's usually maxing out your ability to see players in person, in the front row, watching them. Haven't been able to do that this summer and this fall. How are you doing that for future evaluations?
I've made my guys go over and spend some time with Mel, talk to his assistants, I should say, because I think football coaches do a much better job of evaluating people without seeing them in person. They're forced to because of the situation. And a lot of basketball coaches say, I can't see the same. They're right. It's hard to pick up speed and jumping ability on film, but I think once you've seen a guy, I think you can do a lot on film. Doug Wojcik set up with Drew Danesco, where we had film on every kid we've been looking at now for the next 2 years. And, what it's going to do is it's going to say, man, we like this kid, we don't. The minute we can get out and see him, we'll go out and see him. But it's made us look at recruiting a little different way that I think is going to benefit us in the long run. And even now, like I just did a Zoom call with Aaron Henry to try to go over the offense. I got some of that from Mel and what he had to go through. I couldn't believe what he had to do this summer, not knowing any of his players and trying to get everybody on those calls and put in an offense and a defense. And, as they say, you adjust and overcome. That's what you do in life. And this has given us a chance to do it a little bit. I think I'd still rather be there in person. I still will be there in person, but I think we're going to be better prepared and be able to do a better job if we can do both, be there in person, watch more film, get more games that we can all see, we can cross-reference, and Doug has coordinated that, and that's been really good.
How much does not only their ball movement, but also the ability that they all have with playing with it in their hands and attacking, how much does that help with what you want to do offensively?
A lot. And I think because they all come from pretty good programs, and I think they all are well coached, and I think they're all unselfish. So when you have multiple guys that can do it, then you always got to worry about, okay, you got multiple shooters, while there are enough balls. You got multiple ball handlers, while there are enough balls. When you got guys with high basketball IQs, I think there's always enough balls. So I think they're going to fit in really well together. We've all had them on a big community Zoom call. That was fun. I think they're getting to know each other. But I think your first question was better. I'm praying that we have the schedule before those guys get here.
We have a couple more questions in. First up, Rico Beard, and then back to Jim Comparoni.
Hey, Tom, sorry, I joined in late, so you may have answered this already, but did you find it easier recruiting the guys via Zoom than having to travel all around? And I guess, was it refreshing? Because you kind of talked about not having the outside noise, that it was just kind of a one-on-one connection with you and the player and the parents.
I did love that part of it. I'm not going to lie to you. It was really good. And I got lucky because there were unbelievable parents that I'm dealing with. But the first part of it was what, Rico? I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, do you prefer this way of recruiting where it's just you and the guys and the parents?
I do like that, but I don't like not being able to see them as much. Thank God I'd gotten out, and DJ and Dane and Mike had gotten out and saw Jaden, and I saw Pierre quite a bit. I saw Max a lot. Doug had known Max. We had a lot of video on Max. So that was good. I think keeping me out of the house worked wonders. So I don't know if my staff is really going to let me out next year. But I liked the one-on-one a lot. I thought we did a hell of a job at our office in the Zoom calls. Sometimes, as I said, each guy was at his own house, but sometimes we were all together in my staff. And that seemed to be it's the family atmosphere you talk about. We're all there. I thought that was really good. It was good because I had those ground guys working, and I had Doug Wojcik kind of coordinating it, and we all kind of stayed really on task during those 3, 4, or 5 tough months. And I thought that was a big part of our success. So it wasn't me not being in the house. It was the job those guys did.
Recruited guys to which hat are they going to have on or whatever. Was it kind of nice to know this year that we've got this thing locked in? There's no drama or stress this time around. We kind of know where we're at.
Well, there's always a little drama and stress, as you know, in recruiting. But, that's, again, a positive about having these 3 families because once they locked in, we felt pretty comfortable. And yeah, it is nice. I think of my early years here after we won the national championship. I think we went 7 straight years getting commitments early, and they stuck, and everything was great. And I think that speaks to the kind of guys you're recruiting too. So, yeah, it was good. I mean, I can't say that I ever sleep totally, especially the way it's so crazy out there in college athletics now. But I felt good about not only the players, but I felt good about their parents. And I thought my staff, did a remarkable job. It's been a little different. DJ, Mike, and Dane did a good job having Doug Wojcik here as kind of the recruiting coordinator. He kept all of us up to speed on everything, when we're going to have the Zoom calls, what we're going to do. So the organization of that was phenomenal. And I think that that also lended to just all of us kind of working together, because we kind of had a point person that was keeping us all focused. So yeah, it was enjoyable, Matt, to at least feel good about it and not have to be wondering all the time.
I know you're going to be at home for a little bit here, but you're going to be able to watch Jaden's game tomorrow night, and kind of what your thought is of that whole new thing. I mean, Michigan doesn't have a lot of prep schools, but that's a new thing, and also break down Jaden's game a little bit and a little more of what he can bring.
Well, I am anxious to see the game. I will get to watch it. I got nothing else to do. I'll be sitting here. Not that I wouldn't make time anyway, but it makes it more unique. I'll plan my whole night around it. Maybe I'll have dinner in my office here and watch the game. How does it get any better than that? But I think Jaden, and it's hard to say because I haven't seen his new team and with all the players they got on that team. But what I think you're going to see is still a guy that has great athletic ability. And talking to his coach, he's shown some leadership skills. He can shoot it. I wouldn't say he's a knockdown three-point shooter yet, but he's getting better and better at it. But he is athletic. He can pass the ball. He can really defend it. So I'm kind of as anxious as everybody else to see, how he plays. Now, I think you got to realize these guys haven't played a lot together, and they haven't played a lot all summer. And, things are going to be so new and foreign that I saw enough of him that I know what I like. I'm hoping he has a good game for his sake and his team's sake, and I think it'll be fun for all of us to watch.
In this process and in quarantine, how was things different maybe this year than others?
Well, it was strange. I gave Pierre the credit because Pierre was a kid who, once we started calling him, he just would call all the time. If you ever called him, it was right back to you. He got involved with some of the other players. He's a energetic kind of guy that I absolutely think started the whole thing. And we had recruited Max for a long time, and Jaden we had recruited, but we really turned up the heat as we saw him improve. So it was different. A lot of Zoom calls, a lot of family Zoom calls. I think it helped because a lot of these families were involved. I mean, we had a lot of calls with mom and dad and son, and weren't a lot of other people involved. It was really kind of cool how they all did it, and I think it's going to be more meaningful as we move forward. I just think there's a connection there with not only me but my entire staffs. A lot of those Zoom calls we did together. Some of them we did from separate homes early on when we couldn't all meet at the office. So there's been a uniqueness to it that I think will build a bond that'll be with us for the years to come.